One of my absolute biggest level ups in photography came when I understood the concept of human element in landscape photography. And today I want to show you the top 5 reasons why I think you should use it. My name is Dave Brocia, and I'm a professional photographer from Prince Edward Island, Canada. I've been a photographer for close to 25 years, and I love all kinds of genres of photography. I do many different things in the world around me with my camera. I love photographing nature. I love photographing people. I love photographing events, architecture, a little bit of everything. I think the thing I'm most drawn to is photographing stories. Because I think that's what it all comes down to. I think that's why people are drawn to photographs. They want to be brought into a story of people or place, a moment in time. Today I want to talk about one of the things that really I think leveled up my own photography once I had a better understanding of it. That is the human element in landscape photos. Now, a lot of people really are opposed to the idea of the human element, or including any sort of human-made thing, including humans, in their landscape photography. I think they think it should be held pristine, very pure, just showcasing nature and its beauty. I don't disagree with people who follow that train of thought. I really don't. If that's your thing, go and do it. I really enjoy showcasing nature much in the same way. And a lot of my photographs are simply of just beautiful scenes in the world around us. However, when I was a young photographer, trying to find my way in photography and trying to figure out what images I was drawn to, I felt like something was lacking in the images I was creating. I felt that they were a little bit flat, a little bit static, and I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years into the journey, into the progression. You're a young photographer just trying to figure things out, when I came across a photographer whose work blew me away, and it was kind of one of those absolute game changers for me. That photographer is the late great American photographer Galen Rowell. Now I have something here to show you. I ordered a book about 2 years into my photography journey, and it changed the game for me. And I still have this book, and I still refer to this book. And that is a book by Galen Rowell called The Inner Game of Outdoor Photography. And this just like one of those mind-blowing moments. There was just so many lessons. I loved his philosophy. I loved just the values that he espoused in his many incredible writings. If you don't have this book, I highly recommend it. But one of the things I was so really drawn to in Galen Rowell's photography was he had a number of photographs of just pure nature, of course, and he was a master at photographing just beautiful scenes of our planet. But a lot of his photos strayed away from that kind of purist notion of nature photography. And a lot of his images would include a person, including himself. He did a lot of self-portraits that kind of just showcased a different side of landscape photography, a different side of nature. And that is that we, as humans, interact with these spaces in many, many different ways, whether it's hiking, or you're out paddling a kayak, or you're walking through this incredible trail in nature. He liked showcasing that side of nature, and he was just brilliant at it. And for me at that time, it was kind of a new kind of photography for me that I hadn't really encountered yet, and it changed the game for me. Maybe it gave me permission to be able to go out there and shoot something different myself, right? Stray away from just going out and photographing pretty scenes around me. So I started doing that. I started looking for these different stories in the world around me. And when I couldn't find them, every once in a while, I would inject myself into them, the human element. And this can be done in a number of different ways and for a number of different purposes. And I want to go through some of those reasons why I think the human element can be a wonderful thing in landscape photography, and perhaps give you ideas that you may not have had before. So reason number one, and this is one of the reasons, probably the most used reason why people use the human element in landscape photography, and that is just scale and perspective. It's sometimes very hard to showcase just how big and grand a natural feature is without some sort of thing that our eyes, our brains will tie in to show the size difference between things. And I find injecting the human element or looking for the human element while you're out there photographing is a perfect way to showcase how big that tree is, how massive that cliff is, what an incredible drop off it, just how big the mountains around us are, or how vast the ocean is. Sometimes a little human figure in these grand scenes can really help bring home that scale and perspective. Number two, just kind of like an emotional connection to an image. I think a lot of people can look at a lot of pretty scenes, pure nature, and appreciate the beauty of the surroundings or the image that's being presented to them. But I don't know if they always imagine themselves in that scene. I think the human element is one of those things where if done effectively, you can really bring a viewer into your photographs. You can really make somebody feel like they belong in that photograph, or they can imagine themselves being a part of that scene. And my personal favorite way of achieving this using the human element in landscape photography is trying, for the most part, to keep the person in my image anonymous. I mean, the odd time they're visible, but almost never is it a closer up image of a person where you can see their face. To me, that kind of strays into a different category that I would call portraits. And I love portraiture, but I just think it's a different genre of photography and used for different purposes. That is telling the story of a person, their lines, in their face, their expressions, their character. The human element out there in the field, though, on a landscape image, again, I love keeping them anonymous because I think it can draw somebody into that image, and perhaps maybe you as a viewer can imagine yourself being that person in that scene. And I think that creates an emotional response some of the time. I mean, there's always exceptions to all these things I'm saying, but I really feel that's a result often when you use the human element in a landscape photo. Another one is just a sense of adventure or the journey. I think that a lot of great adventure photography utilizes this combination of human and place. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of incredible places out there in the world. There's a lot of places that can shock and awe us with their grandeur, their splendor. And I think there's something about the notion of the human spirit getting out there and not fighting with these elements or not testing themselves against them, although that can be part of it. I think there's just something about that marriage between people and place and seeing somebody being a part of the puzzle of nature that brings out the sense of adventure within us. Another reason for me is just sometimes I think an image needs an exclamation point. What do I mean by exclamation point? Well, I mean when you're out there photographing and you have a pretty scene, maybe perhaps you've composed it in a way that you think is strong. You have a strong composition, you have a strong scene that you're shooting, maybe the light's really pretty, but maybe you just feel like something is lacking. That kind of memorable aspect that's going to hook the viewer in. So I call that the exclamation mark. And in a lot of my images, I try to find that exclamation mark. Not always possible. I fail many times, but I really do like searching for those kind of little just one-ups to make an image progressively more interesting. And sometimes that's looking for the human element in nature. I think it can just be an extra point of interest to grab somebody's attention beyond simply presenting pretty. Not that that's a wrong thing. One of the biggest reasons for me in using the human element is just the notion, going back to this word, of storytelling. I quite honestly don't believe in the boxes that genre photography can put you in. A lot of photographers will say stuff, and I'm guilty of it too, that I'm a landscape photographer, or that I'm a portrait photographer, or that I'm an architectural photographer. And it seems that once we put these labels on ourselves, we're sometimes afraid to bust out of those labels, even if an interesting thing is happening right in front of our eyes that might present really well in a photograph, right? You might see that lone hiker going through a big rainforest and think to yourself, well, I'm a landscape photographer. I shoot nature. I don't want a human in my shot. And believe me, I've encountered many people with this kind of mindset. Oh, humans. No, I'm trying to get away from humans. I believe in the power of pure nature photography, but as mentioned, I really think there's some incredible stories to be told by just taking that leap of faith to try to see if having a human element in your image does anything for you, if it snags you, if it grasps your attention. Because if it does, it might grasp somebody else's attention. And I love presenting those different stories of the world around me. Again, without the confines of boxes that we sometimes put ourselves in. If I see a great portrait opportunity, I'm going to shoot that portrait, even if I'm right smack dab in that forest, camera on tripod, shooting some elegant nature scene. If I see that hiker go through deep in my scene, my brain goes to, that's a perfect opportunity for scale and perspective, right? I don't think we should put ourselves in boxes. And this technique, if you choose to embrace it, it's not even so much a technique as it is just a photographic concept. I think it can be done to very powerful result. Now I'm going to show you a slideshow of some of my human images over the years. I hope you enjoy. And if you've enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button. It really does help a small channel like mine if you hit that subscribe button. And if you found this useful, if you can share it with some of your other photographer friends, much appreciated. Thank you, everybody.